Hello everybody. Assalamu alaikum, Sastakar, Namaskar to all the listeners. This is Attorney Shah Purali, and today we are the last show of the year, I think, Michael, and we will, next time we come back, it's going to be next year. And I just wanted to wish all of you Happy New Year, 2019. Hopefully it will be a better year, although we have been going through a lot this year, and we hope things are going to be better. Today is Thursday, 27th December 2018, and like I said, it's last show of the year, and hopefully, like I said also, we will have a better year next year. But there are so many things that has happened this year, and including mostly bad news, but some good news. So we'll discuss about this and kind of recap what has happened this year and things that we are expecting to come up next year. And we won't be taking a lot of callers, although we will be opening the lines later, Michael. And the number to the studio, 510-657-1170. I'm hoping to have Sharif with me in a few minutes. Hopefully he will be available. We'll talk a little bit about EB1 and all the success stories. Just to let you know, we have been getting a lot of EB1 approved amazingly, and yesterday I spoke to one of the clients we got approved, and he was telling me, I remember when the first time you talked to me and told me it's possible, I didn't really believe you, but I still gave it a shot, and today I'm happy. So those are the things that really makes us really kind of feel good what we do as lawyers. So we're going to recap quickly, and then hopefully we'll have Sharif join in, right, Michael? So just to let you know, last year was really a tough one. We had all those memos coming out, including the zero tolerance memo, including the unlawful presence memo, the no RFE memo, you name it, all the stuff are combining. And now one of the things that a lot of people are worried about is the unlawful presence memo, which kicks in on August 9. So 180 days from August 9 will be around February, I think February 5th, if I'm not mistaken. So if you have some kind of violation from that date and February 5th has reached, you might be barred based on the 3-year bar if in case you violated your student visa after August 9. So even if you violated it before, that's the part which is kind of tricky. They might consider this, but they will start counting the unlawful presence as August 9, and on February 9, we are going to see a lot of people kind of getting stuck in that situation. So if in case you know you have a violation, I recommend that you talk to us, and you might have to leave the country not to reach that 180 days so that it doesn't come back and hurt you, because once you have unlawful presence of more than 180 days, you're going to see yourself in a situation where you won't be able to reset the student visa or some kind of other visas, and that can really hurt down the road. And I think, Michael, is Sharif there? Sharif? Hello?
Yes, hi, Shah, how are you?
I'm doing well. Is this Sharif?
Yes, this is Sharif. How you doing?
Oh, Sharif, hi, I'm doing well. You sound different, so I was not sure. So, ladies and gentlemen, just before I take it, Sharif handles our office in Washington, and he's the jack now of all those great EB1 cases we got approved. So I'll let him talk a little bit about EB1 and tell us recently what kind of cases he has gotten. So Sharif, tell us a little bit, because yesterday I met someone who was very, very happy about the service, and he was telling me he didn't believe it when he came in, and now he believes it when he got the I-140 approved. So tell us a little bit, of course, keeping it general, about the kind of cases you have gotten approved.
Yeah, and you know, Shah, that those are our favorite kind of cases, the individuals who, have been in situations where they consult with a number of attorneys out there, and they feel like there's not really much out there for them, and then, they come to us, and we're able to find a solution, and find the areas within their profiles that we can extract from in order to make them, qualify under this criteria. So one of the, I think, clearly there are a number of individuals who are software engineers or software architects that we have been able to be approved. So I think those folks who are working on, projects and, particularly cloud-based security folks are absolutely in an area that is, I think getting a lot of traction and definitely a lot of strength in terms of EB1A. Now, one thing that to keep in mind is that it really doesn't matter where or what field you work in, as long as you're able to articulate and specify the field of endeavor that you're in. For example, one of the more, recent kinds of cases, just keeping things general, obviously, is the Scrum Masters and data architects. Because, these folks, when you have particular specialty in a specific area, for example, let's say healthcare. So there's a lot of folks that might be working within, data analysis or data warehousing, but in a very particular subfield such as healthcare or, one thing that we see a lot of in the Washington area are folks that work in, for government contractors. And we're really, really getting a lot of traction, a lot of support, and able to get those both groups. So it's been all across the board, extremely, wonderful year. I'm so thankful, for 2018 and how much success we've had and how many lives we've changed, because
Indeed. So, Sharif, one thing, let us kind of rewind a little bit. We're talking about EB1A here because yesterday I was in a reception and when I was telling people about EB1, they didn't know that EB1A doesn't require an employer or doesn't require even the employer to know what's happening, and it's all yours. And for India, there is the backlog is less than EB2. So it is important that people know about this. Sharif, are you still there? Hello? Hello? Michael, I think I lost Sharif. So let's see if I can get him back online. So just to let you know before I start, I have the disclaimer that anything I'm telling you today is my opinion, our opinion. If you have any questions, feel free to call us. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided. So I think Sharif is back. Sharif, are you there? Hello? Hello? Okay, I think, Michael, can you hear me? I think I lost Sharif. We have this. So we were talking, like Sharif is saying earlier, we had a very good year with EB1. I give a percentage, but we had a high success rate, very, very high, and I'm very, very proud of the team. Sharif, you there? Hello? Hello? Okay. So I'm going to continue a little bit until I get Sharif back online. But Sharif, you there? Hello? 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 Technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. That's what happens when we do live shows. So I wanted to check and let you know that Sharif is online, and we're talking about issues related to here he is. Actually, he's in front of me. So I'll have him talk to in a few minutes. So Sharif, tell us a little bit about how things worked out in the latest cases. So and then we will move on. Okay.
So I think one of the strengths that we have is the diversity of clients. There are people in all different kinds of fields, particularly, as I was mentioning, folks in the software engineering, software architect field. And it's important to highlight the different areas. I think most folks, when they come to me, are really focused, Shah, on some of the 10 criteria that are listed on the USCIS website. However, when we're approaching EB1A, we have to look beyond only those 10 criteria and look deeply into the person's profile and determine whether those individuals will meet all of the statutory criteria. And that statutory criteria starts with whether or not the person will benefit the United States. What the statute actually says is prospective benefit to the United States. So how do they bring future benefit? What kind of credible things are we able to find in their profile or credible evidence that they will bring about future benefit to the U.S.? So looking at the general examples that we're able to find from, a very successful 2018, we're looking at folks who work in areas of important need, or what the government describes as intrinsic need in the United States. So folks that are making a big difference, and you could kind of make this argument for so many different facets, because if they're not, for example, working in something like healthcare or education, we can definitely make an economic argument. So ultimately, it's the job of the lawyer to be, creative and find areas that will, make these people stand out and make folks, reach their full potential and kind of explain the story to the adjudicating officer.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have Sharif now. He's with me in the office, so that makes it easier. I hope you can hear me properly. Michael, can you guys hear me properly? Because we are using a speaker system to talk. So just to let you know, we have Sharif. Sharif is an attorney, and he's working with us with the Shafirai Law Group now. It's almost 2 years, right, Sharif? So we have been doing. Tell us a little bit. I think we did a lot of cases so far. How many cases we have done right now? I have stopped counting. I think hundreds of them, right?
Oh, definitely. We're in the hundreds, and just reflecting since it's the end of the year on how successful and how many folks' lives have been changed and impacted in 2018. I'm just remembering the different stories, and it's very touching, over the holidays to get all of those, messages from people, and they tell me the stories. And to me, that means more than anything else, is when you hand the people, the green card or the approval notice, and, the reaction on the faces. It's just, something that goes beyond measure. Particularly for folks from India who are stuck in this EB-2 backlog forever, and it's a really unjust, discriminatory policy. And while we're doing what we can, and even from Washington, in terms of trying to get the government to change those things, we have to come up with creative ways to get people out of that backlog, because ultimately they have lives to lead and money to be made. So there's so many talented people out there that once they get the EB-1 approval, and then they're, starting their own businesses or, their own companies, things of that nature, and what a huge economic benefit. One example, thinking about examples of success that we were able to do was having an individual who worked on infrastructure projects before, and that person decided to go back to school to do, it wasn't a PhD. I don't want to get into specifics because, these are all confidential. So just leaving things general, it wasn't a PhD level. It was less than that. But this person, one of the ways that we're able to prove that they're going to command a high salary was by writing a business plan. And that business plan not only provided evidence that this person is going to prospectively benefit and bring about future benefit to the United States through the business that he will undertake upon being qualified for EB-1A, but within the business plan, he was able to provide a budget and a salary for himself that was used as evidence that he will command a high salary. Mm-hmm. So, this is just the kind of thing that, only kind of people that will think thoroughly and deeply about a person's individual profile can uncover. So, I know there's different options out there, and I'm very grateful for the people that do come to us. But if you're going to pursue this path, it's important to have representation from somebody who is willing to go all out, really to fight for you, without any reservations.
Yes, indeed, Sharif. One of the things that a lot of people tell me is, Shah, when I spoke to you during the consultation and you were telling me that let us give us a shot, how come I was kind of skeptical, and that's what they tell us. They're skeptical in the beginning because they spoke to other attorneys and they say, no, you don't have a PhD, you don't have publication, so EB-1 is not really on the table. But the truth is that this is one thing we've been saying. EB-1, the way we see it on all those checklists and all the lists that you see out there, is not really, is just a small part of what is really EB-1. What we are talking EB-1 here is you are of extraordinary ability, you're outstanding. So outstanding can be anything. Someone might not even have a PhD. Someone might not have even a degree at all, but they might be outstanding. And that's where the secret is And the truth is that no matter how much you try to put those together, you require that touch of it's just like doing a nice painting, like I call it. You can give someone paint and they will paint something, but making a work of art is something that really need a gift for. And Sharif has it, and I'm very proud of that. And he has been doing things, even when I was doing EB1, I was doing the Always. It was working, but it was not that we were not looking at it from this perspective. And since now it's been 2 years, right? We have been doing it from this perspective, and we have hundreds of people to pretty much witness to that we have been successful. And we're very proud of that, because the truth is that when you are a good lawyer, you go back to the law and look at how things work in reality, not just taking things and basically taking templates and just putting things on it. It won't work. That's one of the things when it comes to EB1, a template will not work. And that's where the creativity is important, and that's where we have been able to be successful. And we have now, I think, I just counted, I think we have like 120 cases or more probably we've gotten approved so far, and we are very, very proud of that. And if you need help, feel free to reach out to us, 510-742-5887, the website attorneyonair.com. And just to let you know, one thing which is important is we can do an assessment for you. Doesn't mean if we do the assessment, we don't see a chance, we won't take the case, because we want to keep, number one, EB1 costs money, so we don't want you to spend money with us. And number two, we won't try to jeopardize our success rate just by taking any cases when we know there's no case. But so far, everybody we have spoken to had the potential, and sometimes they don't even know they have the potential. Like yesterday, I was speaking to some people, Sharif, and they were telling me, oh, really, EB1, you don't need an employer? EB1A, you don't need an employer, just like National Trust Waiver. Because for people who are born outside India or China, National Trust Waiver is also a good option. But EB1A is the best option if you're born in India, even though there's a backlog of 1 year or 2 years. It's still, if you have an EB2 approved, we can carry forward that priority date on the EB1. So tell us, Sharif, some few cases, because another thing that it's a myth that a lot of people talk about, you need to have a PhD. And most of our clients don't have a PhD.
Exactly. And I think one thing that I could tell you is if you look at, for example, many of the engineering cases we do, you're going to first of all start by looking at what kind of future benefit will this individual bring to the United States. And let's think about it in a very deep way. What is the economic benefit? How many jobs is he or she going to create? What kind of projects are going to be brought forth as a result of this person's continued presence. So we're talking about having established the applicant having established him or herself as a person that has a reputation in the business, whatever business they're in, then they're going to start bringing about future business. But most of our clients tend to be, boxed in because they're kind of going off of, Google search or whatnot and thinking about what are the sustained acclaim criteria that I'm going to qualify under, the 10 criteria that are listed on the USCIS website. And, I don't have publications, for example, so how am I going to overcome this? Or, for example, I don't have awards, so how am I going to overcome this? And I think if you look at the actual, statutory language, it's actually designed for people in all facets of industry and business. So if we're talking about engineers, the first thing that we're going to look at is, does the individual work in a critical role for an organization that has a distinguished reputation, or has the person performed in a critical role for an organization that has a distinguished reputation? Now, what this means is not, the specific language of the statute is not requesting or demanding that the applicant be employed by this organization. Rather, they only need to have performed on behalf of the organization. So, for example, if you are in a consulting company and you have an end client that you've been doing an important project at, and that project would not have been possible without the involvement of the person who's applying for EB1A, then that person has performed in a critical role for the organization. Of the 120 or so approvals that we have this past year, how many of those have been working as, through a consultation basis. I would say probably at least half. So those individuals that are working at end clients in important roles but don't feel like they're able to have it recognized because they're not directly on that organization's payroll, think again, because that's not what the statute calls for. What the statute says is that you perform. It doesn't say that you're employed. So these kinds of things are really important. Understanding the plain language meaning of the statute and how we deconstruct and then reconstruct the statute to meet the need of the client. The second thing that a person, for example, if we're talking about a software architect, is going to be looking for is, has the person made an original contribution of major significance to the field of endeavor? Now that requires two things. Number one, that the work that they've done is original. It is their own work, or they're part of a team that creates or produces some new and work that is their own. The second part of the analysis is, was this work significant? So you have to do a double analysis here. The originality needs to be proven, then the significance needs to be proven. So this is the sort of thing that you need to do. Somebody that's an engineer, software architect, think about critical role and then think about original contribution. And then you can look at other criteria, such as, have you reviewed the work of other professionals? It doesn't mean that you reviewed journal articles. It means that you were asked, based on your expertise in the industry, to review or judge the work of some third person. And it's done outside the normal course of your employment. Then you want to look at, for example, are you a member of an organization that requires outstanding achievement of its members? Are you a member of IEEE? Can you elevate to senior member? Are you a member of many other organizations that are out there, and so on and so forth. And from the past conversations we had how important it is for a person to command a high salary. In a capitalist system like the United States, when we're talking about how a person is recognized within the industry, then we need to understand what is salary, because that is the ultimate recognition, within. And it's not necessarily that they are currently being paid this salary. It's that they command a high salary. That's why I gave you the example of the business plan. This person made a business plan. They presented a very professional business plan in which they were making, budgeted, and earning over, for example, $250,000 per year, and that is all the evidence we submitted to be recognized as commanding a high salary. So these are the approaches we take. And this approach, we just talked about 5 criteria. You only need a minimum of 3 to meet sustained acclaim. We didn't talk about publications. We didn't talk about PhDs. In fact, I question how much education actually matters in EB1A. I don't see anything in the statute where it says you have to have a certain education level.
And that's the part which is kind of ironical. I don't know how to put it, but I always say that what we are studying today might not have any use tomorrow, and it's really people who have hands-on on what's going on that are really creating the future. And I've seen kids with no really 12 years, 13 years old. We have not done cases for kids, by the way, I'm just saying that, but they come up with ideas that are so unique that it's just amazing. And I know in the Bay Area itself, there are thousands of them. I don't want to say millions, but there are thousands of people with that kind of potential. And they don't even realize that they're basically struggling, number one, begging the company to file a case for them and getting stuck for EB3. We have cases where people jump from EB3, by the way, to EB1.
Absolutely, yeah. We even have cases where people go from OPT on an F1 visa to EB1. So, you have to unshackle yourself from your employer and think with an open mind. If you're able to do that and speak with a competent attorney that could really, give a clear analysis to your case, it may be that it turns out that you are probably not in a position. We don't know what the situation will be. But, how are you going to just sit and remain, controlled by your employer when this option exists? That, I think, is an injustice, particularly for people who find themselves in, Silicon Valley or working in, healthcare fields, education fields, working in, for example, the DMV area, which is D.C., Maryland, Virginia, in government contractors, or in now I think you look at the New York, New Jersey corridor. There's so many rising important fields, but particularly in biotech. So people all over the country. I mean, you look at some of the, even if you go to some of the more traditional EB1 cases, we have lots of people from research institutions all over the country that have reached out, and we've been able to, successfully work out their petitions. So from folks who are kind of mid-level software architects, but we're able to highlight some of the important things they've done over the course of the career, to scientists at NASA. I mean, it's a full gambit in terms of who is able to be approved. It's all about the approach you take and whether you're willing to put in the work.
And exactly, Sharif. I remember we had a case for someone who used to work for NASA, not directly, and then ultimately we were able to get their national interest waiver in this case. And the truth is, where people get it wrong is that this, unfortunately, they have been conditioned to think that they're stuck in the system. And until you, quote unquote, think outside the box, it won't work. But that term, think outside the box, is kind of old now. So it's still like someone was saying, you think inside the box but outside the box at the same time. So we can use what we have to deal with what you have. So basically our way of seeing things, the perspective and the way Sharif is presenting it to you is that you might not see at all you have an EB1, but until you talk to us, we do an evaluation for you, you won't even know if it is possible or not. And I had many cases, like I was mentioning earlier, the client yesterday who came, he was very happy. He said, I remember when I spoke to you, I think 6 months ago, when you told me, he told me, back in my head, I was saying, okay, I don't know what he's talking about, but maybe he's just saying that. But I still gave it a shot because I trust you, and that's what the important part. He trusts us, so he gave us a chance, and today he's happy. I remember yesterday I was happy because now he's filing for his adjustment of status, and he's going to get his work permit, and hopefully everything goes as planned, he'll get his green card within a few months. And that same guy, had he waited on an EB2, he would have waited another 3 years. So this is the thing, and plus the EB1A, which is great about it, you don't need what we call an employer. The employer doesn't even get involved at all. And that's where a lot of people don't realize. And plus, just because you file an EB1, Sharif, many people get worried about that. Oh, will the EB1 affect my EB2? No, it doesn't. It's totally independent. You can have both of them being filed. It won't affect it. Of course, you cannot lie on them because that will affect your other cases. As long as you tell the truth, you'll be fine. And just to let you know, if you want to know a little bit more about EB1 or you want to do a consultation with one of us, feel free to call our office, 510-742-5887. 510-742-5887. Now the other thing that is since H-1B is gone, Sharif, a lot of people are looking for other options. So EB1 is very related to O1 visa. So since O1 is open all the time, you're finishing school, for example, and an OPT, and you didn't get an H-1B, and if you are someone of extraordinary ability, in the meantime, because you're born in India, even though we file the EB1, there might be a waiting time, we can look into that O1. And O1 will allow you to get the visa immediately and ultimately start working until your EB1 gets processed. So that's another option that we are looking at right now as a backup for our clients who are waiting on their EB1 to become current, especially if they didn't have a priority date that we can merge on this one to get advantage of that. So ladies and gentlemen, today we have Attorney Sharif with me, and I am Shah Purali, and we are doing the Shah Purali Law Show. It's the last show of the year. And we're talking about the success stories we had on the EB1, especially EB1A with Sharif's team. And we are talking about the potential out there that many people don't know about until they look into it. And just because another lawyer told you it's not possible, I'm not trying to downplay the opinion of my colleagues. The thing with EB1A is very much like an artistic work, like I said. So one person can see things in one perspective and say it doesn't work. But the way we look at it, so most of the time it's working, right?
Absolutely.
And we will know actually once I do one evaluation, the Sharif does, two people are doing the evaluation. So we usually get it right. So far, we have gotten it right.
Absolutely.
And as lawyers, we're not supposed to give you a guarantee, and we cannot give you a guarantee, but so far we have been doing well, and I hope next year will be the same, and we are expecting a lot more cases coming next year. So if you need help, feel free to reach out, 510-742-5887. So Sharif, tell us a little bit. Also, I remember we have done a case, I don't know if it was at the Washington office or here, where someone was in environmental kind of not invented, but he was helping in the environmental issue, which is a big thing right now and which is really close to my heart, climate change and things like that.
Yes.
People like that, we need them in the U.S. I really say that. Not only we need them because it's time to save the planet. And I think we work on one case like that.
And I think that's where a lot of folks have a misunderstanding of EB1A, because usually they're doing a cursory Google search and finding that there's only 10 criteria and you have to meet a minimum of 3. However, that is not true. What you really, really need to do is prove that you will prospectively benefit the United States. So what does it mean to prospectively benefit the United States, to bring about future benefit to the U.S.? So that is where the folks that are working in areas of intrinsic need, such as clean water, clean air, deforestation, things like that, are really, really rising to the top. So one thing that, to be honest with you, we do is we look at what are the major, because you see these adjudicating officers, when they look at the evidence, they have a subjective view. They like to think of themselves as objective, as looking just as the evidence, and that they won't let their personal view come into play. However, we're all human beings, so they are going to be influenced by the surrounding events. And so, for example, if you're talking about the wildfires in California, and President Trump went on and talked about the importance of deforestation, all of a sudden I started to look at, okay, who are the main players in this deforestation, environmentalist agenda, and we could find companies and folks that work in them that had no idea that they would qualify for EB1A, but now we could position them as folks who will prospectively benefit the United States and are working in organizations that have a distinguished reputation. So that allows us or enables us to go forward. Kind of unrelated to the environmental factors, massive area where we have so many cases, successful rate, is cybersecurity, because you see all of the big, news or if you will, fake news, depending on what your perspective is, about hacking and interference in elections and, foreign organizations that are trying to hack the United States. Then you give a narrative through prospective benefit to the United States about cybersecurity and protecting data of U.S. citizens, and it's a home run case, because you're able to provide this narrative that is going to persuade the adjudicating officer to approve the case. So any time that you're working in an area that is needed, or whether or not you have to create that narrative, it's all about creating the narrative. And remember one thing, there's 3 requirements for EB1A. The first is that you'll prospectively benefit the United States. That is a forward-looking approach. That is a narrative that you're able to provide and describe to the adjudicating officer. The second requirement is that you demonstrate that you have sustained a claim that has been recognized in your field. That is going to encompass everything that you've done in your career up until the point that you submit your application. The third requirement is that you will continue to work in your field of endeavor, continuing to work, that you're a person that's in high demand. So if you're a person of understanding, you should know that 2 of the 3 requirements for EB1A are forward-looking, prospective. Therefore, you're able to create a narrative and describe what it is that you intend to bring to the table. And this could be demonstrated through evidence.
Exactly, Sharif. And this is something that is very close to my heart, when the cases where really we can really be seeing things. At this point in time, we'll reach a time when we have to look at things from a different perspective. The world is changing. It's not only the climate. Everything is changing. So why do we have to stick to things that are not working when there is provision under the law that there are things that we can use? For example, Sharif just talked about cybersecurity. It's one of the biggest things right now, bigger than anything. And I can bet you only in the Bay Area there's 1 out of 5 people probably working in that and studying that and really are good at it, because I hear them all the time, and they're working for top. They're even working for the military and things like that. So why don't you look into an EB1 instead of sticking, well, of course you stick to your H1B, but down the road you have to keep the situation like that. And I just wanted to tell people that we need to basically kind of have a situation where they need to look forward, okay? America still has a lot of potential, and a lot of people are actually kind of not really looking in the full potential. And don't just let things pull you down, because many people will think that, okay, I cannot get an EB1 because another lawyer told me, or because on self-assessment I have not seen it is going to happen. But this is where the perspective should change. And if you don't change that perspective, you won't really be able to get things done. So I recommend that for people who really want to do an assessment. I apologize, we have a background noise. 510-742-5887, and we need to get things moving. And if you need help, please feel free to reach out to us. Again, 510-742-5887. So Sharif, I apologize, I'm having a kind of...
So one thing I want to just chime in on is, for folks out there that are interested or that are thinking about doing this, is one thing you need to understand before starting the process is that this is going to be very, very difficult and challenging work for your attorney, but this will also be a challenge for yourself. You are going to need to push yourself. You are going to need to get out there and get the supporting evidence that you're going to need to prove your case. One very recent case that was approved, I got a wonderful note from this client. So I know not every past result is an indication of future results. If it were, I would probably charge a lot more money for my services, because all of my past clients have been approved. But she said, for example, well, this is kind of too flattering. It's hard for me to read it, but let me just read it to you. It says that search for the best and brightest EB1A lawyer stops with Sharif. Sharif is the most knowledgeable, dedicated, focused, and compassionate lawyer I've come across in immigration matters, particularly for EB1A. His attention to detail is outstanding. And this is the important part. Before embarking on this journey, please remember this is not a time-boxed process. It will go through multiple iterations, and one need to be patient and trust the process, and above all else, trust Sharif. For me, Sharif is the EB1A wizard. Every question and answer I had with Sharif took the case to a new height. Every case is unique, and so is its approach. Sharif will push you, and you might feel it is too much, but just trust him in the process, and you will see the final positive desired outcome. So for her case, she said, for my case, anything that Sharif asked, I never questioned. I just got it done. If one can clear Sharif's RFE review phase, then trust me, you are good. Sharif is also extremely collaborative and open for suggestions. And what she means by that is, one thing I do toward the end of a process is I like to put myself in the shoes of the adjudicating officer, and rather than submit a case and anticipate an RFE, I would rather give my clients the RFE myself, so that I could tell them, hey, look, we've gathered a good amount of evidence. This is where the case stands. This is what the legal brief looks like. Now let me tell you what the adjudicating officer will likely say. And they will likely ask you for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now go out and get it, so that we're not going to put ourselves in a position where we have an RFE. And like this person, she went out and got it. We submitted it, and we got the approval. So ultimately, being able to be patient and understand that, it's not a time-boxed process, meaning, it's not something where you're going to come to us and you're going to say, here, Attorney Shaw, here's my evidence, now go and submit it. That's not going to be the situation. This is going to be a collaborative effort where we work over a period of time to make sure that you are in a position where you are approvable.
And that applies for pretty much everything immigration. And Sharif is right on that by reading, and it's a very nice review he got. And actually, the part that he wanted to put the emphasis on is actually the part where he's talking about the situation of where you have to work with us. It's not a one-way process, okay? It's just because you dump stuff on us and you expect us to we will do the work. But you will have to go a 1 mile extra when we need it to get what we need. Because it's just like you can have a nice cook. If they want to cook good food, if you don't have the ingredients, it won't work, right?
Exactly.
So it's the same rule here. And we wanted to let you know that we are able to help you. Of course, if you qualify, at least we see the qualification there. Then we will take the case and we will proceed. That doesn't mean for sure we'll get an approval. But so far, thank God, we have been able to get approvals. And we wanted you to know that, hey, it costs nothing to try it with us. Well, it's not cost nothing, but you should try it, because the truth is, if you make it on that, it's a jackpot.
Yeah.
And we've seen jackpots.
Like I always say, the only thing you have to lose is time and money.
Yeah, but the thing is that so far they have not lost, and we are very proud of that. And again, as lawyers, we're not allowed to really give you a guarantee, and we cannot tell you just because we win some cases, the outcome will be the same on other cases. However, if you see a pattern of win, you know there's something good being done. And we have been doing that for years now. I remember back in 2007, there was one lawyer who called me and was upset. He said, how come you're telling people you can win those cases when I know we won't win? I said, did you try this? Did you try that? Finally, when he realized what I was saying, I was right, he ended up becoming a good friend of mine. He called me actually to complain, but then he became a good friend of mine, and he started giving me the cases to handle, and we were able to get the cases done. And that has been the pattern in the office. Doesn't mean we win it all, because if we could win it all, then we will be not human beings. And we cannot guarantee we will win it all, but at least we reached a point now where you need to take that extra mile and make things work for you. And I think, Sharif, we have another 10 minutes to go, so I'll let you give a conclusion of this year. Just to let people know, we didn't take any callers today, so feel free to reach out to our office, 510-742-5887. The website, attorneyonair.com. I apologize, I have a cold, so I'm kind of nasal today. So, but the thing is that this year has been rough, for sure. If you know that, we have a president who is not very pro-immigration. I should put it in a simple way. But at the same time, that doesn't mean we're not winning. So at this point, what happened, this is where real lawyers are tested. There were a lot of paper pushers in the past, and they are now out of the way. We are really left with real lawyers, because those cases need to be fought. Like even H-1Bs are no longer like before, where people will just push a bunch of papers and it will work. Even us, when we put so many hours in them, when you get denial, sometimes you're surprised because you did everything right. But luckily, we are still getting approvals, and EB1 has been the success story of this year. And we know also H4 EAD might be gone or stay. Just to let people know, just because you're on an H4 visa or even H4 EAD, you're still eligible to try your EB1, okay? You're still eligible to try EB2. You're still eligible to try EB3. So just because you're on an H4, don't think that you cannot move forward with a green card. And I recommend people to look into that, because many times when the spouse is doing everything, every focus is on one spouse, and we forget about the other one who has a lot of benefits, right? And I've seen this in the past where we had a client who was focused on his own case, but then when I look at his wife's case, she had so much potential there, and they were ignoring it because she was an H4, and they thought H4 couldn't do it. So don't just think, even an F1 visa, you might be able, but F1 has other issues, so be careful on that, because the fact that you file an I-140 when you file for renewal of the F1, it might cut it off. That's a different issue. But O1 visa, L1 visa also, you can try EB1A, because those are dual intent visas, H1B. So, Sharif, what is your take of this year? Before we close, we have 5 minutes to go. So I wanted you to give your last word. How do you see next year what we should focus on?
Sure. And we obviously cannot ignore the elephant in the room, and that is the current administration and how it has been dealing with the overall situation with respect to immigration. However, at the same time, we have clients that need service, and they need their interests to be cared for. And that's what we've done. we've taken the ammunition of what was actually intended to be a stricter approach to EB-1A. And that is that under the previous administration, it used to be called the totality of the circumstances test. Now, under the Trump administration, they're using what's called the plain language meaning of the statute approach. So that is where we've actually used their, own approach against them, where the government is saying we will only adjudicate cases according to the plain language meaning of the statute, and then we say, okay, fine. What does the plain language meaning of the statute say? And we looked at the plain language meaning of the statute, we deconstructed it, and we provided an approach that is working for our clients. And we're very grateful and thankful for that. So ultimately, it has been a very, very successful year despite the difficulties that have existed. And if you think back to January of 2017, when Trump was inaugurated, we had a conversation at that time, and what did we say? We looked at all of the, anti-immigration advocates, such as, the organization FAIR, and what everything they were saying was that they're going to be very, very strict on humanitarian cases, family-based cases, non-immigrant temporary worker cases. However, the one area where we looked at and found opportunity were highly skilled workers, particularly with EB-1A, EB-1B. And that is where we've focused our energy and have produced really unbelievable results, probably some of the best results in the entire country. And I know some of the top firms, they call us, all the time. I've had phone conversations with them, people that have even, write some of the books on immigration law, and they've, really respected the work that we've done, and it's gotten some attention. So, we're really proud of that, and it's been a great year, and I think 2019 will be continued success. Ultimately, we hope that, Congress will do something about the EB-2 backlog, but at the same time, we're not going to hold our breath when you have a divided government there, so we just have to do what is necessary to make people's lives better, and that's what I intend to do.
Thank you so much, Sharif. So we are almost done with the show now. I just wanted to remind people if they need help on immigration, whether it's EB-1, EB-2, EB-3, H-1B, and H-1B season is opening right now. There might be some changes out there. Give us a call, 510-742-5887. The website to check, attorneyonair.com. But before I close, another area of practice that we help people on is debt settlement. A lot of people are calling now because they're worried about the economy, especially debts are getting high when their houses might be a crash on the house market. So they are asking us to help them get rid of their debts, and we can help you on that. You can check the website, yourdebtsettlementattorney.com, yourdebtsettlementattorney.com. Call the same number, 510-742-5887. What we are talking here is to really kind of get rid of your debt. For example, you owe $10,000 on a credit card, we can negotiate that for less of its price, and you get rid of the debt, maybe $2,000, $3,000. Just an example. We used to do it a lot on second mortgages, but then now, since the house market went up, it was kind of hard to do that. But now, since there is a potential of a crash, if you need help on that, because a lot of people are contacting us, please give us a call. So today I had Sharif with me, and I know I didn't take any callers today because we wanted to talk about EB-1. I wanted to thank Sharif for his good work and the team there in Washington, D.C. And also, just to let you know, we had a lot of issues that we saw that came up last year, and many of them will be affecting students. I was mentioning that in the beginning. The 180 days will kind of go from August 9, will reach around February 5th of next year. So you need to be ready for that. If there's any violation of your student visa, it can affect you. So you need to talk to a lawyer and make a move out of that. You need to clear that before it comes back and really bite you, unfortunately. And also, I wanted to send a special thanks to Michael and Radio Zindagi, KLOK 1170 AM, for really kind of supporting us in all these endeavors. And next year, hopefully, things are going to get better. Well, let's hope so, because now Congress is changing, and we are hoping that they will do something about immigration. But things are going to really things are going to be tough, no question about it, because we are in a time when things are tough. but that doesn't mean you give up. There are a lot of opportunities out there, just like Sharif mentioned earlier, we kind of do jiu-jitsu with them. Like, we use what they try to use against us, and we basically tell them, no, that's not the way we see it. And Sharif, I think you mentioned that earlier, right? So I wanted to thank you all for being good listeners. Happy New Year to all of you, and thanking Michael for that. And again, we have, I think, I miscalculated the time, Sharif. I think we have 2 more minutes to go, right, Michael? And I wanted to tell everybody things are changing. The world is changing. Climate is changing. Everything is changing. But at the end of the day, humans are pretty much the same. There are good and bad times, and right now we are going through tough times. I practiced under 4 administration almost, and I've seen good times and bad times. I remember the days of when we had the Bush administration, with the kind of issues we were facing, especially with everybody was getting charged kind of quote-unquote with terrorism. Now we have a different kind of approach where a lot of people were not expecting Trump to really attack the employment base, but it is happening. But the thing is that it's evolving, right? There are good things that are happening also, that a lot of people are seeing opportunities there. Like you were saying, Sharif, cybersecurity. We are seeing a lot of people in that field. We're seeing a lot of people to help the environment, like the fires in California. They are hiring people pretty much to come here and evaluate the situation. And those people do qualify for EB1. We also got actors and you name it in the EB1. And I want you to think about it and check our videos. By the way, with all those videos, I put them on audio on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/SharpRallyLaw. You can share it with your friends and give us a call if you need help, 510-742-5887. Thank you, Sharif. Thank you, Michael. And again, I wanted to put the disclaimer. Today we spoke about our opinion only. You should not act or refrain to act solely on the information provided. You should contact an attorney if you have any questions. Thank you so much. And also, if you need help on debt settlement, like I mentioned, yourdebtsettlementattorney.com. We can help you with credit cards, second mortgages, etc. Please feel free to reach out to us.
AM, San Jose, San Francisco, in the entire Bay Area.